definitely.
So, several months ago, the two of us had been attending classes at the top of a large 23-story building. So naturally, we took the elevator, which would inevitably stop multiple times on our way up and down each day. We began to notice that we would stand next to each other as one unit and as far away from a stranger in the elevator. And on busy days when the elevator would begin to crowd and we were standing so close to so many people, we would squeeze our shoulders and wince at each other, while others in the elevator seemed totally comfortable and unaffected.
To explore the situation in more detail, we invite you guys to participate in an activity. Imagine that this is a classroom, and you walk in and spot 4 is occupied by a stranger. Which spot would you guys choose to sit in? Who would choose spot 1? 2? Or 3? Now, imagine another scene. With a similar table, but spot 4 and 2 are occupied. How many would choose spot 1? 5? 3? Or 6?
The same social instincts are present in the elevator we mentioned earlier. Picture you're standing alone in the center of an elevator. If someone walks in, you are most likely to reposition yourselves at a maximal diagonal distance from each other. If you were to not readjust or stay in close proximity, this may feel awkward or uneasy for the person walking in, or even signal a threat. And so, as more and more people come in, there's a constant reshuffling of these dynamics, and these sort of elevator pattern or formations emerge.
So why do we all choose those spots? What makes us feel the need to maintain such distance, especially in a small space like an elevator? This phenomenon isn't random. It's rooted in the concept of personal space, a crucial aspect of human interaction that influences how we perceive safety and threat. Our personal space gives us a sense of comfort, and when those boundaries are crossed, even in a small space like an elevator, we can sometimes feel threatened or uneasy. So this concept was coined by Edward Hall as proxemics, which is the study of how our culture influences our perceptions of personal space. Many of you might have heard of 4 main zones of personal space. Intimate is from 0 to 0.5 meters.
Personal is from 0.5 to 1.2 meters.
Social would be from 1.2 to 3.7 meters.
And public is greater than 3.7 meters, or from us to you guys.
So when someone is standing really close to you, what do you assume? Are they just pushy, have bad hearing, or is this behavior typical of their culture? This situation exemplifies a common phenomenon in human interactions. When 2 people from different cultures converse, cross-cultural miscommunication is really likely to occur.
This is because perceptions of personal space vary between different cultures. Above is a generalized categorization of different countries. Contact cultures include South America, Southern Europe, and the Middle East, while non-contact cultures include Northern Europe, Asia, and North America. And to look at this closer, we found a study that was conducted on the proxemic behaviors of 122 people from different regions around the world.
So in this study, the Northern Europeans, which in this case included the British, Germans, and Americans, ended up being part of the non-contact group, which meant that physical touch and proximity was limited. They tended to keep more distance between each other and limit eye contact. On the other hand, Southern Europeans, such as the French and Italians, are part of the contact group. In this case, physical proximity and touch and loudness are more common.
This contrast was partly caused due to their different experiences. Southern Europeans felt that maintaining a close distance conveyed warmth and connection, and a louder voice conveyed excitement or interest. For them, a greater distance and lack of eye contact conveyed indifference, with some subjects even labeling this behavior as unfriendly. Northern Europeans, on the other hand, were more uncomfortable with this closeness, associating it with intrusiveness or tension. Now, obviously, this study is highly generalized. Now, you might be wondering, well, isn't this obvious? While proxemics may seem instinctual, Edward Hall actually suggests that these distances are learned and developed as one gets older. And children, as we all know, constantly invade each other's personal space, pushing and reestablishing boundaries. And we can imagine that if we were to take a bunch of children and put them in the original elevator example or the table example, they would be much more comfortable and even more sociable. So therefore, as kids, when we grow up, we are naturally picking up innumerable amounts of cultural habits that we don't even notice they are taking over and replacing our natural tendencies. So while proxemics may seem obvious and innate, it's actually refined as we grow older.
So proxemics influence how we communicate, collaborate, and form relationships. It begins with personal which influences our comfort levels in a conversation. How close or far someone stands influences how open and reserved we feel. And these, in turn, influence things like workplace and classroom dynamics. For example, in the workplace, proxemics might influence leadership styles or business negotiations, and influences whether a team can collaborate efficiently or whether they suffer from miscommunication. Similarly, in the classroom, your positioning with your teacher or peers might influence your relationships, learning experiences, or confidence levels.
These habits become ingrained in our social expectations, and the way we navigate physical space sets off a series of reactions that shape not just individual interactions, but entire social and professional ecosystems.
So, in conclusion, proxemics is a learned behavior shaped by both age and culture that influences how we perceive personal space. Are these two the only factors that influence us? Well, of course not. Depending on the person, other things like gender, physical environments, and family situations might also be of importance. But overall, it's important to note that out of all the factors, studies have shown that the two we mentioned are the most significant.
Therefore, our nonverbal communication gets refined by the people and expectations around us. And by recognizing these differences, we can better understand and design interactions with others. We can take note of how in certain spaces we may be driven to collaborate or interact or create a sense of privacy. And these social dynamics are so deeply ingrained that we don't tend to notice or even react to them, except, for example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, when social distancing and lockdown forced us to reconfigure our spatial practices. So suddenly we were asking ourselves, is this person standing too close to me? Should I move away?
So the next time you're in a public space, try taking proxemics into account. Notice how far or close you're standing from someone. Notice how different places or situations might impact how you or others feel. Maybe try changing or shifting your boundaries and see what happens. Thank you.